News Voice is the world's first mobile app that helps you track where your news is coming from. News Voice helps you track what corporate interests might be influencing the narratives in the news you read every day. Arm yourself against corporate media monopolies by downloading the News Voice app for free using the link right underneath this video. We're down to just the last 4 days of this campaign, but it may be more than 4 days until we know the final results in every state, and that's okay. It's a modern thing that people even expect to know the results on Election Day. And this year in particular, because there are so many mail-in ballots because of the global 100-year pandemic, roughly 80 million people have already voted. And some states like Pennsylvania, because they don't start counting those mail-in votes until the polls close on Tuesday, might not have results for a few days. And that's okay. But it's not okay for Donald Trump, because that is exactly the window of opportunity he is planning on to steal this election. Here is Donald Trump. Don't take my word for it. Here is Trump himself saying, hopefully, we will get courts to stop the counting of ballots that arrive after Election Day, or even just ballots that arrived on time but weren't counted before the end of Election Day. Here's Trump himself saying it.
Hopefully, the few states remaining that want to take a lot of time after November 3rd to count ballots, that won't be allowed by the various courts, because, as you know, we're in courts on that. We just had a big victory yesterday in Wisconsin on that matter. So hopefully that won't be happening. OK.
Now, later on today, I'm going to talk about how, of course, mail-in ballots should be counted after Election Day, as long as they are postmarked by Election Day. The law is you have until Election Day itself to vote. You shouldn't be penalized for delays in the mail. But the point here is that Donald Trump is not trying to hide it. And when I've asked Congresswoman Debbie McCarcel-Powell about this, I asked Mayor Eric Garcetti about this, I asked Congressman Ruben Gallego about this. Is Biden ready with lawyers? They all say, yes, he is. And that may well be true. But what if it gets to the Supreme Court, which now has 3 of Donald Trump's nominated justices on it, and they get to decide the outcome of these ballots in this election? Donald Trump's plan is to block legally cast ballots from counting. That is election fraud. That is voter suppression. That is election suppression. It is against the law, but they are trying to build public support for stopping the counting of these ballots by pretending there would be something wrong with counting them after Election Day. This is always the case, by the way, that this happens. The only difference is that this time there's more mail-in ballots than ever because of the pandemic. And Donald Trump, although now his Postmaster General says he stopped, Donald Trump's Postmaster General was interfering with the post office's ability to handle mail. So it might take a little bit longer. It might actually make a difference in a couple of states that we don't get all of the ballots counted on election night. Now, some good news in terms of rulings. The Supreme Court late Wednesday said both North Carolina and Pennsylvania will be allowed to extend their arrival deadlines for the mail-in ballots. Again, we're not changing the postmark date. You still have to fill it out and mail it by Election Day, but they're extending the transit deadline, essentially. Increasingly, it really could be Pennsylvania that is the big one here. Pennsylvania could decide the winner. In fact, there's lots of electoral vote scenarios, which we will go through, where it comes down to Pennsylvania. And Secretary of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Kathy Boockvar, said she expects the overwhelming majority of votes will be counted by Friday, November 6th. It's just a few days. But we could actually be waiting for Pennsylvania, depending on how the election goes. I would prefer it not be that close, but it might be. 8 states expect to have at least 98% of unofficial results by noon Wednesday. Only 8. 22 states in D.C. allow postmarked ballots to arrive after Election Day. So the timing is going to depend on when voters return them. New York and Alaska aren't going to report any mail-in votes on election night. Shouldn't make a difference. Alaska's going to Trump. New York is going very, very powerfully to Joe Biden. Full results from Michigan are expected to take several days. If you combine now Pennsylvania and Michigan, You really have many scenarios from an electoral map standpoint where we don't know the results until we know Michigan and Pennsylvania. If you say at this point, what are the odds networks will announce a president-elect on election night? I would say about 65%. I think there's a 65% chance it's not close and we know on election night. I think there's a 35% chance we know at some point after that. Every vote must be counted. They are being clear about their strategy. And I really hope, I know the members of Congress are telling me Biden's got the lawyers ready. I hope he has the right lawyers ready. I hope he has enough lawyers ready because it's going to be a mess.